Please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
We answer queries from all our female investors. Joining us today to answer all your queries, we have Mayuresh Joshi as well as Prakash Gaba. Thanks a lot, gentlemen, for joining in. And on that note, let's get in our first query. Miss T. Prema writes to us from Andhra Pradesh. She holds 30 shares of Glenmark at 650 rupees for the last 4 months. Long-term investor wants to know whether to hold or sell. Well, Prakash, pharmaceutical stocks have done well this week so far. She is sitting on a bit of a loss at 600 rupees versus 650, which is her purchase price. Do you think she can make up for that loss and make more money on Glenmark?
I believe so. Not I think so, but I believe so. Basically, I must disclose that I have this stock in my portfolio and I hold it for a long term. So I think it's going to, this bottomed out here, looks like it's heading up. How high it can go is difficult, but downside seems to be limited. And this is the only place where it can go up from.
Okay, so that's good. You clarified also between I believe so and I hope so. Mayuresh, what's your take on Glenmark? Would you advise a hold as well?
Oh yes, Sumit, afternoon. And a large element in terms of the softness in numbers were more to do with the base because of the Zetia component. But a large element in terms of their other businesses actually doing well, including their API business, actually augurs well. So the long-term business potential, which is their complex generics and the innovative pipeline that they've got with phase 3 clinical trials expected for one of their products, I think that probably augurs well in terms of how the revenue accretion will be. Both for the India business, the US business, and the strong emerging market business as well. The two factors, however, will be how they'll be able to reduce their net debt of almost 4,700 odd crores. And the management has probably shown some amount of a guidance in terms of the base business being improving, margin expansion, and cash flow generation. So I think approvals for the innovative pipeline, along with R&D spends being normalized, I think that should also support their margins. So yes, I think a hold from my side as well.
All right, a hold on Glenmark from both our experts. So I guess, Ms. Prema, that's all the advice you'd need for now at least. Up next, a query on SBI. We have Ms. Geeta Nair, who's written to us from Mumbai. So she says she holds 500 shares in SBI at 281. She's a long-term investor and wants advice on what she should do at the moment. So SBI making a bit of profit. Mayuresh, you see much more headroom on the upside?
So again, Sumit, I think it was very interesting because what they probably reported in terms of the bottom line, I think that was probably disappointing in terms of how the markets perceived it. But my own sense in terms of the management beefing up coverage is actually very, very positive from a long-term perspective. The second element in terms of their core slippages, which have actually moderated to 14,370 odd crores. If you look at the recoveries, they've bounced back very, very sharply to 24,900 odd crores. And the expectations of retail advances growing at a very fast clip, which is almost 28% of their total loans, along with the provisioning that they've done on their NCLT cases, which is almost 71% on both the lists, with the expectations of slippages expected to remain below 2% and credit costs around 2%. I think the NIMs reported should remain around this level of 2.6, 2.8, and that probably should ensure that the provisions moderate going forward. And again, I think that supports the overall earnings perspective for the bank. So I'm not overly perturbed. Yes, I think the power exposure that the bank has got might have some amount of elevated provisioning for a quarter or two. But the longer-term story probably remains very, very robust for this behemoth. So I think a clear hold both in terms of valuations as well as the earnings perspective.
All right, a clear hold in terms of valuations and earnings perspective for State Bank of India. In the meanwhile, all the other PSU banks also, they're moving higher. Ticker team alerts us Bank of India at the high point of the day. We have OBC, South Indian Bank and Allahabad Bank moving higher as well. With that, we move on to our next query. We have Ms. Surya Kumari, who writes to us from Tamil Nadu, holds about 21 shares, or no, rather holds Infosys shares for the last 21 years, wants to know the future of the stock. Well, Prakash, for a person who's holding Infosys for the last 21 years, I remember it listed about, what, 25 years ago, and had one bought one share then, would have been worth lakhs. And here's a person who's holding it for the last 21 years. What advice do you give to that
What
person?
advice can you give? Nothing. He's holding it, no matter what. If you ask her to sell, she won't sell. She'll continue to hold. Best is to stay holding. I mean, it's a beautiful stock. Just continue holding it. Nothing is wrong with the stock. It might see some dips. Who cares? Go to give money.
Mayuresh, you want to take a hit at that? Or someone holding Infosys for the last 21 years, what would you say?
I think it's a brilliant effort that he's or she's holding on to that stock. Absolutely agree with Prakash. I think even if you ask them for the otherwise, I think it will still remain a hold for the investor. So I think the stock has been doing pretty well. So what you've probably seen in terms of management changes, what probably happened in terms of the digital investments probably took a hit in terms of both the EBIT and EBITDA margins. But I think they are on a path of recovery. So the digital contribution to overall revenues is almost 28.5%. They have not changed their EBIT band of 22 to 24. The constant currency growth is still expected between 6 and 8%. And they are having very strong deal wins, so around $1,100 million of deal wins. I think actually augurs well for the stock. And you're probably seeing even the management traction keeping on track, utilization levels coming back to 85%. Attrition is the only concern, but that should also normalize going forward. So I think the investor should clearly hold on to the stock.
Yeah, I hope we had him on the line because I'd want to know what is the reason that 2 decades later he has chosen to seek advice now.
I'm getting early rates. The earliest rate on my computer is from 2000. That time the stock was around 80 odd rupees and right now it's 1426. Well, Prakash, HDFC you said you've been holding since IPO.
Yes, since IPO. Absolutely.
And you wouldn't want advice on that, right?
I wouldn't take advice from anyone.
All right, so even if it's forced down your throat, Prakash is not taking it.
The same advice too. Don't take advice from anyone.
Okay. Lakshmi Singh has now written to us from New Delhi. She has 4,000 shares of Finiotex Chemicals at 60 rupees. She's been holding on for 3 months, long-term investor, and wants to know what she should do. Prakash, I know we've been discussing such good quality stocks actually for the long term, but here's somebody who's holding Finiotex. From the last 1 year, I mean, I haven't seen a longer term chart, but at least in the last 1 year, the stock has only been heading one way, and that's south. Should she just bite the bullet, get out? I mean, there are so many better names, right?
I tell you what, this stock I bought right at the bottom.
Okay.
And I held it for a couple of years and became a multi-bagger for me. I have no idea, but so far it still looks good to me. It's bounced from a very strong support of 45. It can still go up. I don't hold the stock anymore, but it can go up to 75, 80 zones. Who knows? But continue holding it. If it goes up, continue holding it. If it goes up, sell. If it comes down, buy again.
All right. You know, the big trigger for Finiotex is that mosquito repellent that they've now developed, whether they get a big order for that or not. We've had the management on our channel a couple of times, and they said that they expect a big number of revenue coming in from there.
Going by the current situation, it looks like there's definitely a big market out there, yes.
All right. So let's go across to Jigna Patel, who calls us from Ahmedabad with a query. Jigna, go ahead.
Yeah. I just want to know that I have 100 shares. So how long I have to hold it for 5 years, 1 year, and is it good in progress or something like positive?
100 shares of Dilip Buildcon.
Yeah.
You bought what, 6 months ago or something? Because the price is around 1100.
Yeah, I guess I am not exactly. I don't remember, but yeah, I think 2-3 months or 6 months. Yeah.
Is this the only stock in your portfolio, Jigna, or what was the reason behind you buying this?
I just want to buy the share and I just want to try the new shares. And it's a good background. The share background is good, Dilip Buildcon.
And you're in need of money right now? Or you can hold it?
No, I can hold it.
Okay, Mayuresh, Dilip Buildcon. Now the stock at one point went all the way up to 1200 rupees, then fell all the way down to about 500, 600 odd after being put into the ASM. Now it's recovered to levels of what it is trading at, 800, 850 thereabouts. What would you recommend to a person on a stock which has been so volatile?
So Mangalam, again, I think all the issues that you rightly pointed out, I think the ASM worries you probably had, whether the Shrem Group receivables would come through, the auditors fading out. I think that had a huge detrimental hit onto the stock. But if you look at the quarter numbers which just came by, I think the margins at 17.8 pleasantly surprised me. The order book that currently stands at 24,000 odd crores, an expectation of 10,000 coming in, is again a very positive sign in terms of revenue visibility. What you're probably talking in terms of diversification, and the management probably expects that non-road orders to be 20% in the next 2-3 years. And though debt has probably moved a tad bit higher, with expectations of capex around 400 odd crores, including the mining projects, and the receivables expected from Shrem, I think that should support the cash flow dynamics. So again, I think it's a very difficult stock, as you rightly pointed out. But since once it's invested, she can probably hold on. But an alternate investment can also be KNR Constructions, whose numbers were equally phenomenal. So I think the kind of margins that they've posted of 20-odd%, expectations of margins staying around this level, debt to equity at 0.818 times. You're probably looking at ROEs in excess of 22%, and working capital days reduced to 30 odd days. I think you can't ask for more. An alternate choice.
Let's get back to answering the queries. Our two experts are here with us, and we have our next question coming in from Ms. Arindas, who's written to us from Kolkata. She holds 200 shares of Mangalam Organics, which she had bought at 270 rupees about 2 years back. She now wants to know what's the future of the stock. Prakash, you've looked at the chart, Mangalam Organics.
Yes.
From the current levels, what would the advice be? She's making a bit of profit on it. Should she at least book partially?
Basically, the structure is good. Now, it's run up the way it's run up from 200 to 400, doubled up. Ideal place to book profits. I mean, if you get a gift like this, if you don't accept it, who do you blame?
That's a crime.
You know, I have to tell you a story about Mangalam Organics. The other day I was...
you don't own it, right?
No, I don't own it. No family ownership, nothing of that sort. But I like the name. I've heard it somewhere, I don't know where. But tell you what, you know, about last December, I was driving by on Baikala or somewhere, and behind, I was behind a bus. As in Bombay, there's a lot of traffic. And then there was this hoarding behind the bus which said Mangalam Camphor. And now we're selling at Amazon, they're selling on DMart, and they're selling at Hypercity and all that. So Camphor, which was a commoditized product, is what they turned into a brand. And I thought it was pretty interesting. Yeah. So I just took a picture of that, put a tweet, and I didn't know the kind of margins they would make. And over the last, this quarter, they made 12 crores of profits. That compares to last year's profit, which was 14 crores. And that compares to the previous year, which was much lower than that. So
are you trying to gather a Twitter following?
I'm not trying to gather a Twitter following. I'm just trying to say that, well, you never know what happens.
Okay, he does put up interesting stuff on Twitter, so yeah. No doubt about that. Okay, next question comes in from Kavita Jain, who writes to us from Jaipur. She has 10,000 shares of Reliance Communication. She bought them at 15 rupees about 15 days ago. So I'm wondering, you know, why and what made her take this decision. But anyway, she's a short-term investor, so probably was looking for a bit of a pop. Prakash, you think the pop is there? She's made about 40,000. Get out?
Immediately.
Realcom.
Right now.
Right now, one of the few people who probably made 40,000 in 15 days in Reliance Communications. So get out right now. That's what Prakash's view is. With that, we move to Priyanka Patel, who writes to us from Ahmedabad again. Holds 4 shares of Maruti at 9,500 rupees for the last 1 year. Long-term investor who wants to know whether to hold or sell. 9,500 rupees, Mayuresh, for Maruti. The long-term, do you think it's a good price?
Oh, absolutely. I think Mangalam, no two ways about it. And when you're talking about Mangalam Organics, I think the person I'd like to bet on is Mangalam Malu. So coming back to Maruti, I think the volume growth probably sustains, and in my opinion, it should be a double-digit growth which sustains because of the strong waiting period for products like a Baleno, Desire, Brezza. What they've also done in terms of improving their dealer mix, both through Nexa as well as the other outlets, and the target of 4,000 on that front, will help it to tap growth in the non-metro and tier 2 cities. The third aspect in terms of the Gujarat plant running at full utilization actually augurs well from a leverage perspective. And the petrol models actually account for more than 70% of their sales. So the margins should sustain between 15.5–16%, and the earnings growth should be quite reasonable as well. So yes, both from a market leadership position in excess of 50%, strong margin performance, leverage, and earnings profile, I think Maruti still remains a top pick for us, as well as a clear hold for the investor.
All right, up next, Mrs. Sushma Raina has written to us from Jammu. She has 500 shares of PC Jewelers. She bought it at 250 rupees about 4 months back. Another long-term investor and wants to know whether to hold or to sell. Now, I'm sure Mrs. Raina was hoping for a fate like our investor on Relcom, but sadly not the case. And I wonder, you know, Prakash, so many people write into us saying that they're long-term investors, but when they pick stocks, they're clearly not long-term bets. But in any case, what's the advice for the reader?
I wish she had bought the jewelry. But from 250 to 100, what else can you? If it breaks 100, goes down further, I would not. Who would want to be in the stock?